If you woke up today and thought, wow, did I miss something? Don't worry, you didn't miss anything. The market just did what it always does when expectations get ahead of reality. Bitcoin pumped, dumped, liquidated both sides, and crypto Twitter immediately decided this was either the end of crypto or the start of a secret global reset. We've got theories flying everywhere. Japan, institutions, manipulation, Trump speeches taken wildly out of context, and almost none of it is actually rooted in what happened. So today, we're cutting through the noise. What moved the market? What didn't? And why one of the biggest crypto announcements of the year is being completely drowned out by fear. I'm SENB, and this is your SENB Daily Brief for Thursday, December 18th. Let's get into it.
You're listening to the SENB Daily Brief, powered by Whole Shot Coffee.
All right, let's start with the market. Yesterday's whipsaw didn't resolve anything. It released pressure, but it didn't restore confidence. Bitcoin first. BTC is still trending lower on the daily. Lower highs, lower lows. Price is sitting below the short and mid-term moving averages, and importantly, it's failing to reclaim them. That tells us this isn't panic anymore. It's hesitation. Momentum rolled over. RSI is drifting back toward oversold, but there's no real bid stepping in yet. This is what digestion looks like, not capitulation. Ethereum looks very similar, but slightly weaker. Ether is still stuck inside its descending channel. Price rejected the 50-day, and the bounce attempt faded almost immediately. Volume isn't expanding. Buyers aren't chasing. That's not fear, that's uncertainty. When Ethereum lags like this, it usually means traders are waiting for Bitcoin to make the next decision. XRP continues to grind lower, respecting its downward channel almost perfectly. No breakdown, no breakout, just consistent pressure and very little urgency on either side. Despite some ongoing institutional headlines, price isn't reacting yet. That tells you positioning matters more than news, at least in the short term. And then there's Solana. Sol is clearly the weakest of the group today. Still trending lower, still below key moving averages, and still unable to build any meaningful bounce. Part of that is technical, part of that is narrative. But here's the important distinction. Price is declining, but it's doing so orderly. No cascade, no liquidity vacuum, no panic wick. That matters because structurally broken assets don't move like this. So the takeaway for today, the market didn't collapse. It didn't recover. It paused. And when markets pause, narratives rush in to fill the silence, which brings us to today's main headlines. That's coming up after this.
You're listening to the SENB Daily Brief, powered by Whole Shot Coffee.
Welcome back, everyone. Let's talk about today's news. Yesterday's whipsaw didn't resolve anything. So if you've been on X today, you already know the vibe. Everyone suddenly knows exactly why Bitcoin dumped. Depending on who you follow, it's manipulation, or CPI, or Japan, or institutions, or Tom Lee, or the SEC, or Coinbase, or all of it. Let's slow that down. First, the liquidation narrative. Yes, there were large liquidations, longs and shorts, fast moves in both directions. That doesn't mean manipulation. It means leverage was crowded and price went looking for exits. Liquidations are a mechanism, not a motive. Then we've got the macro fear layer, Japan rate hike rumors, concerns about global liquidity, risk-off headlines making the rounds. Those stories didn't start today. They just resurfaced because price gave them permission. Markets don't react to news in isolation. They react when positioning is fragile. Then comes prediction season. Tom Lee is back in timelines calling for Bitcoin all-time highs by the end of January. At the same time, other accounts are calling for Bitcoin under 60,000. Both sound confident. Both are being shared heavily. That's not signal. That's sentiment fragmentation. Meanwhile, something actually important happened. The SEC quietly issued additional clarity on how broker-dealers can custody crypto. Interim rules, operational guidelines, real-world compliance paths. That's not bearish. That's infrastructure. But infrastructure doesn't pump price in a day, so it gets ignored. And finally, Solana. All Solana tokens are now tradable inside the Coinbase app. That's not a headline. That's a distribution unlock. Millions of users, native access, no wallets, no DEX hopping. That's a structural shift, even if price doesn't care yet. So here's the reality. Most of today's explanations are narratives chasing price, not price responding to fundamentals. Which brings us to the moment everyone was waiting on. Trump's speech last night, and what it actually changed versus what people expected it to change. We'll break it all down after this.
You're listening to the SENB Daily Brief, powered by Whole Shot Coffee.
Last night, President Trump delivered a rare primetime address from the White House, and within minutes, Crypto Twitter decided it was either the most bullish crypto speech of all time or a catastrophic market signal. So let's slow this down, because almost everything you're seeing today is headlines without context. The speech itself was roughly 20 minutes long. It focused on inflation, consumer prices, immigration, military bonuses, healthcare costs, housing reform, and promises of economic acceleration in 2026. There were no mentions of Bitcoin, no mentions of crypto, no digital asset policy, no strategic reserve references, nothing. Despite that, the internet immediately filled in the blanks. Some accounts claimed he promised lower interest rates overnight. Others said he was about to replace the financial system with crypto. A few even suggested XRP was named as the backbone of a new monetary framework. None of that happened. What did happen is more subtle and more familiar. The market went into the speech expecting a signal. It didn't get one, and when expectations meet silence, leverage unwinds. That's not manipulation. That's positioning. This is a classic macro setup. Elevated leverage, high anticipation, ambiguous timing, and traders front-running narratives that were never confirmed. When the speech ended without a catalyst, the trade reversed. And here's the key point that's getting lost today. Nothing structural changed. No laws were announced. No crypto policy shifted. No economic framework was rewritten last night. The sell-off we're seeing is not a reaction to policy. It's a reaction to disappointment. And disappointment trades fast, but it doesn't define trends. So when you strip away the headlines, the clips, and the capital letter panic, last night's speech didn't change crypto policy. It didn't rewrite the macro picture, and it didn't suddenly invalidate the long-term thesis. What it did reveal is how fast narratives form when markets move first and explanations come later. And that reaction, that confusion, frustration, and speculation showed up immediately in our community. So let's hear it. Proof of Thought mailbag, right after this.
You're listening to the SENB Daily Brief, powered by Whole Shot Coffee.
All right, we're back. And judging by the inbox today, the market didn't just move, it emotionally damaged people. This is Proof of Thought, where we pull reactions straight from the community and try to separate signal from stress posting. First message comes from @StackedSatsOnly and writes, "This dump feels coordinated. Every bounce gets sold instantly. Something's wrong." Nothing is wrong, but something is crowded. When positioning leans too heavily in one direction, price doesn't need bad news. It just needs gravity. Next one is from @MacroMike and says, "Trump didn't mention crypto. Is that bearish?" No, it's neutral. Market selling off because someone didn't say something isn't policy risk. It's expectation management. Okay, this one's interesting. @LeverageLarry asks, "Why does this always happen during U.S. market hours?" Because that's when liquidity shows up and leverage gets tested. Crypto trades globally. Liquidations don't. @QuietBuilder writes, "Everyone's screaming manipulation, but this just feels like a reset." That's the closest thing to clarity I've seen all day. Most days like this don't end with answers. They end with positioning changes. And usually, the people who survive them aren't the loudest. They're the ones asking fewer questions and checking fewer charts. Okay, we'll keep pulling from the mailbag as this plays out, because how people react often tells you more than why price moved. When we come back, we'll shift from reaction to reality and talk about something that actually changed today. SENB update after this.
You're listening to the SENB Daily Brief, powered by Whole Shot Coffee.
All right, quick SENB update before we wrap, because while the market is busy panicking, something structural just happened. Coinbase has officially opened the gates. All Solana tokens are now tradable directly inside the Coinbase app, powered by Jupiter, on-chain, no DEX hopping, no separate wallets, no figure it out yourself. That's not a feature update. That's a distribution unlock. For the Solana ecosystem, this is massive. For builders, it's a shortcut to real users. And for projects like SEND, it's a fast lane to liquidity. When tokens graduate, they don't have to wait to be discovered anymore. They're immediately accessible to a global audience that already knows how to buy. That's a fundamental shift in how exposure works. Now, quick reality check. This is not hype. This is infrastructure, and infrastructure matters more than headlines. Meanwhile, on our end, momentum is building. Views are up, engagement is climbing, subscribers and followers continue trending higher. We're not spiking, we're stacking. Slow, consistent, sustainable. Exactly how this ecosystem is supposed to grow. No panic, no promises, just execution. And we'll keep you updated as this lane opens wider. All right, that's going to do it for today. Let's bring it home.
You're listening to the SENB Daily Brief, powered by Whole Shot Coffee.
Today wasn't about price. It felt like it was, but it wasn't. What we actually saw was fear colliding with structure. Headlines screamed manipulation. Timelines filled with theories. Predictions flew in every direction. And right underneath all of that, infrastructure kept moving. Regulatory clarity didn't reverse. Distribution expanded. Builders kept building. Markets don't break because of volatility. They break when the foundation cracks. And today, the foundation held. No, Trump didn't talk about crypto last night. No, that doesn't change the trajectory. And no, panic isn't a strategy. If you zoom out just enough, the signal is still there, even when the noise gets loud. That's the point of this show. Not to predict tops, not to chase narratives, not to panic with the crowd, but to slow things down, add context, and remind you what actually matters. If you're still here, still watching, still thinking, you're already ahead of most of the market. We'll be back with you tomorrow. Same calm, same clarity, no fear theater. Until then, stay curious, stay rational, and we'll see you in the next one. The SENB Daily Brief is a production of SENB Hero Media in collaboration with Whole Shot Coffee, coffee that fuels champions. Written and hosted by yours truly, SENB Hero. Production, editing, and scheduling handled by Maya Valencia, who somehow keeps me on time, caffeinated, and occasionally polite. Original theme music composed and produced by Paul Hahn, the community legend whose beats hit harder than a Fed rate hike. Research support provided by the SENB community. Proof that sarcasm and spreadsheets can coexist. For more shows, merch, and on-chain chaos, visit senbheromedia.com. Thanks for tuning in. Stay caffeinated. And remember, if it's not in the brief, it probably wasn't bullish anyway.
Set my wallet free.